Okay, so just for the video, no one's here, so no one's going to see this until it's published, but I was given some feedback that a little bit when I communicate, I talk and gesture like AOC, which is not something that I want. I was also given the feedback to use my sexy phone voice like I am now and not my "you're in trouble and I mean it" mom voice. So I'm gonna lower my tone, lower my voice a bit for the next few videos and try not to overly wildly gesture, look too much like a hypocritical politician. So welcome to the third installation of Tech Lord Takedown. This week we are doing Elon Musk and Sam Altman, and I can show you, I have pages of notes on Elon and Sam, and it's extensive, which makes sense because it's two of them. It's not just one at a time. Also, forgive me, I have like really bad allergies or something, and I've been crying and sniffling. So I am going to try to keep this under 2 hours or around 2 hours. But bear with me because there's a lot to cover and I have a lot to say. Also, I'm supposed to stop saying so much. That's the other end of my pen too, unfortunately. So still no one's here, so I will get started. This is the third installation of Tech Lord Takedown, and I am doing Elon and Sam on the lam today. And when I say that they are on the lam, I really mean that they are specifically avoiding the consequences of their actions. They are specifically avoiding being seen by the public and being seen by the people around them as they actually are internally. They are specifically avoiding facing the necessity of what it takes to build the way that they say they intend to build or the way that they say that they want to build. And they criticize each other. This is one thing. If you want to know what it is that they actually believe about themselves and what they are personally doing, they criticize each other for what it is that they believe that they are doing. So with Elon Musk, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, but with Elon Musk, I saw in an interview that he was calling Sam Altman Scam Altman, and he thinks of Sam as being like running a huge scam, and that's because Elon runs huge scams. And with Sam, he talks about Elon being idealistic, and he talks about Elon being not trustworthy, but he also admits that he's not. No one should trust Sam Altman, says Sam Altman. So having said that, let's get started with their joint fear of betrayal and the many ways that Elon Musk has been betrayed. Someone on Threads was worried, I guess, that I would do this video and Dane, who's not here, but Dane said that it sounded like I was doing a celebrity deathmatch. And someone on Threads was worried that I would do this video and it would be I would use Sam Altman to make Elon Musk look bad. And I don't really feel sorry for Elon Musk one bit. I don't have any, it's not that I don't have sympathy for him. It's just that a lot of the situations that he finds himself in that someone might sympathize with could be avoided if he were just not doing the things that he was doing and the way that he chooses to do them. So it's not that I don't have sympathy for Elon, but I don't have sympathy for Elon. But there are ways that my research made him seem kind of sympathetic. And one of those ways is in the way that he's been betrayed in business so much. He's been betrayed in business by Sam Altman, which we will get to momentarily. But he started in business being betrayed. And Elon, for reasons I will go into at the end of this video, Elon really likes to position himself as being this self-made businessman, which we all know. I don't think we do all know because I've had to have conversations with people about this. I don't think we are all aware that Elon's not self-made, that Elon's father had a lot of government influence in South Africa. Elon comes from mine money. Elon was raised very wealthy. Elon has never wanted for anything. Um, but he likes to position himself as a self-made businessman because that gives him a hero's journey myth that is not actually what he's personally lived. But he started X.com, the original X.com, and the original X.com was a platform, a financial platform. And he had this idea of decentralizing the finance world, of wanting to have, to revolutionize the way that online banking was done. That is how the original X.com started. The original X.com transformed into PayPal when Elon joined the PayPal mafia. And the PayPal mafia is, I want to make sure I get all of these names correct. The PayPal mafia was, of course, Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel has his little grubby hands and everything. Of course, Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, Reid Hoffman, who now owns LinkedIn, and David Sachs. And he founded the PayPal mafia. He founded PayPal with the PayPal mafia, the members that I just spoke about. And one thing that I think is really funny is because of the ways that they were trying to incentivize people to join PayPal, PayPal immediately started hemorrhaging money because of fraud. And Elon actually, all of the research that I did gives Elon full credit for trying to figure out how to stop the fraud hemorrhaging. So, implementing CAPTCHAs, doing the bank deposits, those were Elon's ideas. For reasons that I can only imagine were deeply personal, Peter Thiel doesn't like Elon Musk. Peter Thiel did not like working with Elon Musk. And when Elon went on his honeymoon with Justine, I believe, Peter Thiel manipulated the board into getting rid of Elon and replacing him as CEO. So he succeeded, obviously. Elon was pushed out of the PayPal mafia, and he was replaced by Peter Thiel. And Elon personally said that when this happened, he considered assassinating people, which I can only imagine that he means that he considered assassinating Peter Thiel. I mean, haven't we all? Obviously, he didn't. So the things that he did to stop PayPal from hemorrhaging money due to bribing people to make accounts was not enough to prevent him from being pushed out of PayPal, and that was taken as a huge betrayal. Elon took that as a huge betrayal. So let's fast forward to 2015. Sam Altman raised over $1 billion for OpenAI. And OpenAI was initially started as a nonprofit. Don't quote me on this because I might be wrong. I know that they are in the process of changing to a for-profit model, but as far as I'm aware, OpenAI is still a nonprofit. So OpenAI started as a nonprofit. Sam Altman raised over $1 billion. $45 million of that came from Elon Musk directly. And because Peter Thiel has his greasy little hands, his greasy little fingers in everything, Peter Thiel also was one of the, I don't know if it's technically legal for me to say that he was a founding member of OpenAI, but he was definitely on the foundational level of the fundraising for OpenAI. And one of the things that the PayPal mafia didn't like about Elon was that he was trying to turn PayPal into what he envisioned X.com would be, the original X.com. If you weren't here when I explained what that was, you'll just have to stay with me because X.com has gone through many iterations. Because he was trying to change PayPal into the original X.com, and because he just didn't get along with people personally, they pushed him out, and he learned nothing from that. That's why I have no sympathy for him. He learned absolutely nothing from that. So he tried to, because he put $45 million of a roughly $1 billion fundraising round into OpenAI. He wanted OpenAI to be the AI for Tesla. And there were some people on the board who were maybe not okay with this, but they understood where Musk was coming from. And they saw Elon Musk as being a very successful businessman. But because Sam, presumably, was under the impression that Elon was trying to take over OpenAI, there was some internal conflict. I know that initially Sam was going to be replaced by Elon Musk, and there was some conversation around which of them would be better leaders for OpenAI. And because Sam is very good at sweet talking people, because Sam's superpower is that he can sweet talk anybody, Sam was eventually chosen over Elon, even though it seemed for many reasons that Elon would have been the better choice. Sam Altman wanted to move forward with OpenAI at this time as a for-profit model. And I think that probably had a lot to do with why people were going with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk still, even though he has no stake whatsoever in OpenAI, Elon Musk still wants OpenAI to be a nonprofit. He still wants OpenAI to be open source. And as far back as 2016, Sam was really moving away from that business model. Sam wanted OpenAI to be a for-profit because he could raise more money for OpenAI as a for-profit than a nonprofit. Maybe. Peter Thiel also played a huge part in getting Elon Musk outed from the OpenAI board, which I think is so funny. If you watch the Thiel kill, you know I don't like Peter Thiel. Of all of the tech lords, I think he's the worst because he does have his hands in everything, but I really don't like Peter Thiel. But I do think that it's funny that he kind of colluded with Sam Altman to get Musk pushed out, he really convinced Sam Altman that Elon Musk was not a good business partner. And maybe to some extent, Elon Musk did a fair amount of convincing Sam Altman that that was true himself through his own behavior. But it is important to note that Peter Thiel played a huge role in Elon Musk being outed from both PayPal and OpenAI. So if you have an incestuous friend group and you've just kind of all been in relationships with each other, you're just kind of all dipping into the same pool, so to speak. If you have been a part of an incestuous friend group, that's all of Silicon Valley. That's how Silicon Valley kind of works. Everyone knows everyone, and if you develop reputations with people, then those reputations kind of stay with you as you continue on through your business ventures. Elon Musk comes from money. Oh, okay. I'm going to finish this thought and then I will address that. Elon Musk comes from money, so he's not really, it doesn't really matter to him whether or not he's liked. He really tries not to be very likable for reasons I will go into momentarily. But he does kind of have a reputation in Silicon Valley for maybe not being the best person to work with. Although I will say Sam Altman is equally growing that kind of reputation, probably because he, in his earlier years, listened too much to Peter Thiel. So yes, Peter Thiel is doing a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist, and I really wanted to go. I was hoping that I could do my own sweet talking and have someone take me, but it's sold out already, which makes me think that, because who really wants to pay to listen to Peter Thiel talk about the Antichrist? It probably was always meant to be a very small in group. It's held at the Commonwealth. I love going to hear talks at the Commonwealth. I met Daniel Levitin at the Commonwealth. So I really wanted to go. I can't go. But if you see this and and you have tickets and you want to take me, I would love to be your date. I would love to go to the series of Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist. Also, if you purchase one ticket, you have to go to all 4 parts. You can't just buy them piecemeal. If anybody knows how I can get tickets to see Peter Thiel at the Commonwealth, please let me know. I really want to go. Okay, back to our scheduled programming. Where was I? Oh, right. So I think in the early 2020s, I don't have it written down, but somewhere in the early 2020s, I want to say 2022. I might be wrong on that. The board once again tried to get rid of Sam Altman because he's a liar. Karen Howe did this really. She wrote The Empire of AI. I will probably mention her in every video, even though, full transparency, I've not yet read The Empire of AI. I've just watched a lot of her interviews. And she talks about how Sam has this habit of agreeing with whatever anyone says so that he can get them to do whatever it is that he wants them to do. And the board was really concerned that Sam was not being fully transparent, that Sam was lying, that Sam was not being transparent about their profit model. And we'll get into that later when I talk about the investigations that Elon and Sam are under. But they tried to get rid of him again. And Ilya Sutskever, I don't know if that's how that's pronounced, but he was one of the people who voted to get rid of Sam. And then I think, I don't have this written down, so I can't say for sure, but I think like 600 employees fought to bring him back. And I know Mira Murati was one of those. And now Mira Murati also has a documented history of obfuscating information about OpenAI in similar ways to Sam that kind of gives her the same, it tints her in a way that's like she's equally untrustworthy, which I don't want to say because I love Mira and I wish her the best of luck. And I'm really glad that she left the board. But she also was one of the people who fought to bring Sam back. We never get to hear how Sam charms the board, how Sam charms employees and board members into bringing him back when they want to get rid of him, into keeping him when they think that other people might run OpenAI in a better way. But he's really good at it, and he's done it multiple times successfully. And I will talk about that later too. But he gets boards to stay with him in a way that's like, he's like their abusive partner, where he's very obviously lying to them. And if they talk to other people, they can see that he's giving conflicting versions of events, he's giving conflicting versions of desire, but they still keep him around. They still allow him to run OpenAI the way that he thinks that OpenAI should be run, which is directly antithetical to OpenAI's original mission, which is to be openware, and to be nonprofit, which, like I said, I think that they still are, but they are definitely moving to a for-profit model. And it's probably because of investigations that we will get into towards the end of this video. So I want to talk a little bit about why I'm doing Elon and Sam at the same time and how they kind of function as mirrored versions of each other. Okay, so can Sam Altman be trusted? Of course not. Sam Altman tells you himself he's not worth trusting, that you shouldn't trust him, that no single person, no single entity should be trusted with the amount of power that Sam Altman has really fought to gain in the artificial intelligence arena. He calls out Elon for being insecure, and he calls out Elon for being idealistic, because Sam at his core is very idealistic and Sam is obviously insecure. There's a part of it that I think is his psychology, and I'm not going to say that he has antisocial personality disorder, Sam Altman, but I will say that there are things that Sam Altman has said personally about himself that kind of give you the impression that he has antisocial personality disorder. And part of his being so agreeable might be because of things that he said about himself that lead to the belief that he has antisocial personality disorder. But part of his being agreeable might be because he's also deeply insecure. So he really likes to call out Elon Musk's insecurities. He really likes to call out Elon Musk for being idealistic. He loves to call out Elon Musk for how much Elon is under-delivers, over-promises and under-delivers. What does Sam Altman do? He over-promises, he under-delivers. And Elon, like I said earlier, he calls Sam, one of his nicknames for Sam is Scam Altman, and he insists that Sam can't be trusted, which is fair because Sam says about himself that he shouldn't be trusted. But also, Elon's a scam artist, and Elon shouldn't be trusted. Elon has given so many reasons, not just in his under-delivering and not just in his over-promising, but he's given so many reasons for why the public should not trust him. But I will go into that later. Sam is very contentious, and he's very petulant in an inner level, on like a very personal and ways that he doesn't really let people see overtly. He's deeply contentious and he's deeply petulant, and that comes out very much when he is talking to and about Elon. It comes out very much when he is placing himself before that mirror where he has to demonize in Elon what it is that he sees and doesn't like in himself. And he really pretends to be agreeable and he pretends to be likable because, as I already said, it gets people to do the things that he wants to do that they otherwise wouldn't do because they're actually against their own motives and they're actually against their own beliefs. But Sam tells people that their motives are his motives. Sam tells people that their beliefs are his beliefs so that he can get them to keep playing the game that he wants to play the way that he wants to play it. Elon, and I think this is so funny, Elon wants people to like him. Elon wants to be loved. He wants to be liked. He wants to be a public figure. And there's in the exchange that he and Sam recently had on Twitter where Sam's like, I don't really think about Elon that much. And then he went on Elon's platform to like crap talk him, and Elon threw a tantrum, a little bit of a tweet tantrum, because Sam's tweet got more attention than his own tweet on his own platform. Like Elon wants so much to be popular, and that is the mirror that he has with Sam, because Sam has made himself agreeable and likable, and he does all these interviews, and people, for whatever reasons I really don't personally understand, people care about what Sam Altman has to say. Nobody cares about what Elon Musk has to say. Sorry, my phone is charging and not charging. Oh, right. So Elon Musk gathers attention by being what Sam Altman is on the inside. He gathers attention by being petulant, and he gathers attention by being deeply disagreeable and contrarian and saying like so out of pocket things. He's supposed to have a Twitter handler. He's supposed to have a Twitter handler from the SEC. It never became a thing. But at his core, he's like, pay attention to me, like me, make me relevant. They are two great tastes, and their two great tastes make one giant unified walking shadow. So again, if you want to know what Sam Altman thinks about himself and what Sam Altman thinks about what he's doing, pay attention to the ways that he talks about Elon Musk. If you want to know what Elon Musk thinks about himself and what Elon Musk thinks about his companies, pay attention to what he says about Sam and OpenAI. Okay, so talking about how they're like promises, and all of the ways that they have overpromised, under-delivered, or just like flat out lied. Let's talk about how Sam has left us all feeling burned. Yeah, okay. I do know there are things that I have learned about Sam Altman that I'm not going to say in this video because I don't want to be sued, because there are things that are still under investigation. And Sam's empathetic, sweet personality comes from the way his family has treated him and the ways that he's gotten away with things on an individual level, primarily in his family, and the way that they cover up certain actions of his to kind of encourage him to be successful. And I think that a lot of the tech lords probably, their negative traits came from the ways that they were seen as being geniuses and coddled by their families. But Sam Altman, it's really bad. And now it's really bad. It's really bad. But yeah, he does come off as being empathetic, and he does come off as having a sweet personality. And even with, I don't think he's here, but Chris, who's usually here, I've had conversations with him where he's like, I can't tell. I can't tell if Sam is a psychopath. And then I'm like, okay, so do you want to be able to tell? Do you want to know for sure? Read these articles. Read the things that Sam has said about himself. listen to his interviews and the things that he says about himself and the ways that he kind of talks around questions that he doesn't want to answer about his personality, Sam describes himself as having antisocial personality disorder. He's never directly said that, but he does talk about how he does not relate to human emotions, and he kind of pushed this off as like, oh, I maybe I'm autistic, but it's not that autistic people don't relate to human emotions. Autistic people have emotions and they understand emotions. They just don't understand how other people use emotions as social cues. It's not really an emotional level that they don't understand, because a lot of autistic people are deeply overly emotional, and a lot of people, autistic people, are deeply overly empathetic to a way that, to an extent that's like debilitating to them, but they don't understand the social cues and the social hierarchy around emotion. Sam personally doesn't understand human emotions. Sam described himself as like being around people and seeing like they could look at a picture and tell how people feel, and he doesn't have that. Like, this is the way that Sam Altman has personally described himself and his inability to relate to the human experience in a way that's very similar. I'm being AOC, in a way that's very similar to how Peter Thiel doesn't understand humans, but also Peter Thiel doesn't have cognitive empathy. Sam Altman does have cognitive empathy. Sam Altman developed a level of cognitive empathy that would allow him to manipulate people. And that's the thing that I think is so important, especially now in the year of our Lord 2025. We should all know Sam Altman is very manipulative. Karen Howe does a great job talking about how
today is Deborah's birthday, right?
Sam Altman is very manipulative. Sorry, there's someone having a phone call here. So I'm going to talk a little bit louder.
Oh, that's fun.
Um,
And did you have cheesecake?
he started Looped, and Looped was a location-based social network. And this social network, he promised like these breakthrough features, and he promised an unprecedented level of privacy.
That's safe.
And privacy is something that comes up again and again when Sam Altman talks about.
Zumba classes out there. Today I went to Silver Sneakers classes.
Sorry, it's very distracting. When Sam Altman talks about privacy and data privacy, I will get into this later, but it's a huge issue with him where he promises privacy and he sets expectations for privacy and they're never met. So the very first time that he did this was with Looped, and I think Looped was started in 2008. And Looped fell through. It lasted from 2008 until 2015, I think. Looped fell through because he never had any kind of breakthrough features, and he could not meet the privacy expectations that he led people to believe they would have on Looped. I had never heard about Looped before I started doing research on this, so I don't even know. I don't know if anybody ever joined Looped. I don't know what their user experience was like, but that was Sam's first real personal business venture. And for reasons that he now has trouble with OpenAI, it kind of all collapsed beneath him. He then went on, and I think Looped was purchased by Green Dot. He then went on to join Y Combinator, and he's still a huge part of Y Combinator. And he then had all kinds of unmet expectations with the people that were supposed to be funded by Y Combinator on how the level of mentorship that they were getting, because they were not getting the level of mentorship that they were promised when they signed on to Y Combinator, and also they were not getting the funding that they promised when they signed on to Y Combinator. And I don't know if this is still an issue, But I do know that this is like
Today
a,
is Rita's birthday too. Yeah.
I really want to show you. I do know that this is an ongoing thing
tell her I said
with
hi. You know,
Y
every now and
Combinator
then
where
I
they're
see,
still not
John
meeting
and
mentorship
Mary, they come
expectations,
with Muffy to
and
8:30
they've
mass.
now scaled their
Oh, this is Megan, right?
I don't know how to put this. They've scaled their business model
nice.
in a way so they
Well,
are
that's good to know.
funding more companies
could you send me
despite
her
being
address? 'Cause
criticized
I think she lives in
previously
Greenville,
in the
right?
past for not meeting funding expectations.
Oh, 17. Well,
So
you
in
have the address.
2015,
I'll get it
he
from-
started
I'll get it from-
OpenAI, and OpenAI has a lot of issues with Y Combinator and Sam not being
I
fully
guess so.
transparent
Oh, nice.
about
I know. Last time I saw them was
the connections between Y Combinator and OpenAI, which I will also get into later. But OpenAI was supposed to be A, open source, B, democratic. It was supposed to be decentralized artificial intelligence, and it was supposed to be very transparent. So like democracy where? Open what? Transparent who? None of those things were ever met on any level from the very beginning when even Elon Musk was on the board. They started as a nonprofit model. And as I've said multiple times, they are now moving to a for-profit model, but they are doing a kind of capped profit structure, and they moved from the nonprofit model to the capped profit structure and started to raise funds in a way that was not at all transparent, and I will get into that when I talk about the investigations that they are under. When they made their Microsoft deal announcement, Sam promised that there would be an increase in safety, that they would do 20% of their efforts would go towards the safety teams. That never happened. They promised that there would be unprecedented progress. That never happened. They promised that there would be smooth rollouts. That never happened. One of the things that I think is really funny, Sam is quoted as saying, "Why do these effers get to decide what happens to me?" as a reason for why he would have wide swaths of the world elect a governance board for OpenAI. That never happened. And as I already said, in fact, OpenAI only went towards more profit and less transparency. They never elected a governance board, and now those efforts get to decide what happens to us in AI. And I think that's really important to note because they are personally responsible. OpenAI kind of set the precedent for how artificial intelligence would scale, and everybody, even when they have better AI models, even when their LLMs are on every other level except engagement, functioning better than OpenAI's LLMs, they still decide how data is processed, that these large data centers are going to be built. They make so many decisions because of the way that Sam personally said that he was going to do things and then did things in a very opposite way from the way that he said that he would do them. And from the years of 2020 to 2025, they had a lot of issues with reliability, and he's always promising ethical AI. He's always pushing ethical AI, and he has in no way guaranteed reliability. He has in no way guaranteed or even demonstrated that his AI is ethical. In fact, ChatGPT is the most prone to hallucinations. AI psychosis, which I've written about, is colloquially described as being GPT psychosis because of the sycophancy of the GPT models more than any other LLM. They're all kind of designed as an engagement model because this is the way that Sam Altman designed GPT and had his teams design GPT personally. They all follow the same engagement model where they are agreeable and they are likable, and and they ask questions, and that continues to make you want to use the LLMs. But GPT is the worst about catching users in these kind of mirror loops, this recursion, where they are seeing themselves psychologically, agreeing with themselves psychologically, and wanting to be in that mode with the AI more than they even want to communicate with other humans. So OpenAI has above Gemini, above Claude, above Grok, above what am I thinking of? Above all of the AI models, Perplexity. It has OpenAI has the single most addictive model because that is the way that Sam Altman designed it to operate. He demands product. Sam and Elon both have this habit where they demand product, that product takes precedent over all. They demand product over safety. They demand product over the possible backlash that their products might have, which I'll get to in a minute. And then, so Sam Altman, to deliver as he promises, to deliver what he wants to deliver as a product, he then reduced AI safety research even further. So when he's promising safety and he's promising ethical AI, that's not his focus, and it's never been his focus. Again, on the concept of OpenAI being in any way open, you have to sign a lot of NDAs if you want to work for OpenAI. There was a big, I don't know if it was a whistleblower or if it was like several OpenAI employees who talked out about this, but they engaged in equity takebacks, or whatever that's called. So people who were promised equity in OpenAI, which I did not think that you could do as a nonprofit. I did not think that anyone could own equity in a nonprofit. From when I was trying to make the Adam Institute a nonprofit, that was something that was told to me by a lawyer. So I don't know how they did that, but Sam Altman owns a percentage of equity in OpenAI, and that equity is worth millions of dollars, which I will get to momentarily. But he also then rescinded equity from people who were promised equity. They increased their closed governance, so there's like the governing board of OpenAI is even, the actual governance of OpenAI is even smaller than the governing board of OpenAI. And there's no transparency at all anymore. I think they just released, because this has been criticism that Elon Musk has been very loud about, and he's been getting some kind of support. They have released open source models, but their actual, like the GPT model is not open source. So they're like, it's, what is it, malicious compliance, adhering to what they said that they would do at the beginning. But again, promises. I'm going to talk a lot about this because it's deeply disturbing to me, but one of the other things that he overpromised and under-delivered on is tools for humanity. And a lot of people don't know about tools for humanity or WorldCoin or World. It's so nefarious. It's so evil. It's so crooked. It's, again, when I get into the bans and the investigations, we're going to talk about this a lot. But WorldCoin is like a cryptocurrency platform for you prove that you're human by giving world your biometric data. You prove that you're human by uploading like a picture of your iris to the WorldCoin World Tools for Humanity platforms. So ugly. It has received multiple privacy violations because there is no biometric privacy with World. There is no biometric privacy with WorldCoin. There is no biometric privacy with Tools for Humanity. If you heard nothing that I said about OpenAI, please hear me on this. Do not give these companies your biometric data. Do not give companies that are already under investigation in multiple countries. Do not give companies where even Sam Altman tells you now that your data is not safe with OpenAI. Your data is not safe. The things that you give to GPT can be used against you in a court of law. Do not give these companies your biometric data. But he did promise that there would be biometric privacy with Tools for Humanity, and he's already faced privacy violations. They engaged in very sickening coercive incentives to economically disadvantaged populations in the United States, but also worldwide, so that they could get these. They gave cryptocurrency to underprivileged populations in exchange for their biometric data, which they tell you is just your iris. They tell you it's just your eyes. It's not, but I'll get into that later. Tools for Humanity also does not delete collected data, and it does not allow you to revoke consent for the data that they collect from you. They don't tell you what data they're collecting from you, and you're not allowed to revoke consent for them collecting data once it is collected. They also allowed for biometric data from children, from youth, without parental consent. So again, they're collecting biometric data from children. They don't delete the collected data. They do not allow you to revoke your consent after they collect your data. But they did promise biometric privacy. So I guess that's good enough. As an overview, Sam failed to disclose his conflicts of interest related to Y Combinator's investments and OpenAI startups, which to my understanding is illegal. He has been accused of psychological abuse by his employees. He has been accused of poor internal communication and lying by his own board. But all of OpenAI has just become part of Sam Altman's hype machine. So when I said that Sam Altman owns millions in OpenAI stock for the longest time, only until recently, only until investigations have started to unravel that nothing Sam Altman has said is true. Sam said that he was taking less than $80,000 a year as his reimbursement from OpenAI, that he's in this for the thrill of it, which I'm sure is true. I'm sure that a lot of the reason that Sam wants to run OpenAI and won't let it go is because it gives him a lot of power. It gives him a lot of power and it gives him a lot of influence. But he did say that he said this under oath, that he doesn't really make much money from OpenAI as a company. He then admitted that he does own a teeny little bit of equity in OpenAI, and this tiny little bit of equity is like inconsequential. But at the smallest amount of equity that he might possibly, because he has not disclosed that he might possibly own is still, again, millions of dollars. And he has been very publicly like flaunting these like wealth signs, like in cars, and the way that he dresses and watches, etc. Like he's been flaunting wealth in a way that indicates that he's lying, as he is known to do, about I am being AOC, I'm being a mom, about how much money he's actually getting from OpenAI. So again, over promising, under delivering. One of the things that Sam really likes to talk about is how the board can and should remove him at will if the board finds that he's doing anything problematic, that they can and should remove him. He even has a tweet about this. However, they've tried and failed because he sweet talked them out of removing him. They've had serious concerns about his behavior, comportment, his business comport, and they've tried to remove him and he's gotten out of it. He was briefly removed, and even though he currently says, well, if the board doesn't like what I'm doing, they should just get rid of me, and they would be right to do so. He is now actively making himself the face, the mind, the voice, the brain of OpenAI in a very public way. No one else really speaks about OpenAI but Sam. So that not only ties OpenAI to any possible behaviors, negative impact that Sam might have on a personal level, but that also makes it very difficult to remove him because it associates his public persona with the company. He is centralizing power in himself. He is making himself the center of the power structure of AI, not OpenAI, Sam Altman. So when he gave all of these promises that he was going to decentralize AI and he was going to make AI for the people, not a thing, never happened. I don't think that was even ever actually his intent, but it certainly isn't now. Whatever it takes. Promises, promises. Let's talk about the ways that Elon Musk has burned us all. The original X.com, or what the PayPal platform, what Elon Musk wanted the PayPal platform to actually be. Well, he was going to revolutionize finance, and that didn't happen. PayPal has in no way revolutionized finance. In fact, PayPal has had so many security breaches at this point that I am not sure why anybody still uses it. But we do. I mean, I have 2 PayPal accounts. I have 3 PayPal accounts. I probably shouldn't be admitting that. I have no PayPal accounts. His own board turned against him, as I talked about earlier, because of his desire to make PayPal what he wanted X to be. And PayPal is nothing like what he wanted X to be. And PayPal is nothing like the PayPal Mafia wanted PayPal to be either. That was in the early 2000s, I think 2000, 2002. From 2008 to 2015, the Tesla Roadster, delay after delay after delay. He promised, I think with the Tesla 3, that he would have a mass market electric vehicle that was under $35,000. To the people that actually got a Tesla for under $35,000, I hope you realize how lucky you are. I hope you realize that you were I hope you're grateful for how extremely lucky you were, because very few people actually got an electric vehicle, got a Tesla specifically for under $35,000. But that was a promise that he was going to have a mass market electric vehicle that was affordable. Autopilot when? Yeah, so he still has not really gotten in, and even he likes to joke about this, about how he has like this FSD promise that he's going to have um, these cars that are fully autonomous and that drive themselves, and that's not a thing. But then he goes and he criticizes Waymo. He loves to talk crap about Waymo, and Waymo is fully, I mean, I don't like Waymo. They make me nervous. There's one right out the window. They make me very nervous. Um, but they are autonomous, and I have actually never seen anyone behind the wheel of a Waymo vehicle, which um, from 2016 to 2025, so present day, he promised Tesla full autonomy in 2018. There's still, as I just said, no full autonomous vehicles. He promised robo-taxis. Waymo delivered robo-taxis. He has still not yet delivered a single robo-taxi. He promised battery swapping, which is a huge issue because the batteries in Teslas are lithium batteries. And lithium batteries of any type, they don't like water. Lithium batteries are very prone to explosion. So having the ability to battery swap, especially in a car, an electric vehicle, that should have been like one of the first things that he made sure was a possibility. But as far as I am aware, battery swapping is still not a thing. Um, he promised Tesla solar roof tiles that they would be everywhere. And I will say, from having to up here as Peter Miller, but having to figure out how to get Peter Miller's rights back from a certain solar panel company, and they use Tesla's batteries to power their solar panels. Tesla has the most expensive, or at least one of the most expensive, solar options for batteries that are available. They're very expensive, and obviously the world's not like running on Tesla solar power. He hasn't really talked about this much lately because he's just like spread himself so thin over so many different ventures, which I'm going to talk, but he did promise that we would be colonizing Mars. I think he said by 2024. That's not a thing. His rockets still explode, so that's not a thing. And that, oh God, so before I go into this, the Starship rockets, they were meant to be reusable. Starship rockets are not reusable. And yeah, so Neuralink is like a mountain of expectations, a mountain of overpromising. I want everybody to know Neuralink is only now in its human trials. If you are getting a Neuralink installed, if you are a Neuralink customer, you are in the human trials part of Neuralink. And when I was studying biotech and I took GLP and I took GMP, one of the things that I learned is that a certain amount of deaths are allowed and not documented as causative or correlative when you do human trials. If you are a Neuralink customer right now, I'm going to get into their animal testing. If you are a Neuralink customer right now, you are in the human trials portion of Neuralink's business, their FDA approval. And I want to say, because they are, and when I get into investigations, I'll talk about this more, but because you said it, Dane, Neuralink did disgusting animal testing. Elon Musk personally lied about what was happening with the monkeys that they were testing on, and it's so sad. If you read about this, it's so sad. It's like, it's really depressing and it's really devastating and it's really nasty and it's really evil what they were doing to the monkeys, and like reports of like monkeys holding hands while they were dying. I mean, it's so gross. He said that few to no monkeys were dying in the Neuralink testing, and that's just not true. at all. So overpromising, under-delivering. Yeah. He told the Tesla board that he would stop selling shares when he um, actually purchased Twitter. Well, he's purchased Twitter and he's still selling shares. So that's not a burn against us. It's a burn against the board, and the board's very mad at him. But what are they going to do about it? He describes himself as being pathologically optimistic, um, and that's probably true. I don't know how much Elon Musk directly lies, or if he just thinks that he's like, well, he does. He thinks that he is way better and way more capable of accomplishing things and of seeing things through than he's ever demonstrated that he actually is. But one of the other promises that he made, a burn on us. Well, I don't use Twitter. I haven't used Twitter since before he even purchased it. But um, he promised that he would improve algorithm transparency and that he would reduce censorship. He's done neither of those things. He loves to censor people that disagree with him. We're already at an hour. And when I tell you, I'm not even like halfway through. So let's speed this up. He tried to purchase OpenAI. So this is a thing that's ongoing now. He offered billions of dollars to OpenAI if they would sell it to him. Sam is not going to sell OpenAI to Elon Musk of all people. But one of the contingencies for this was that he would not buy OpenAI if they kept their nonprofit status and if they actually made any of their data and any of their findings open, which they haven't, which we already talked about. Okay, so when we put Sam and Elon together, to recap, they demonstrate that they are way more concerned with production and with scaling than with safety. So one of the ways that this is demonstrated by Sam is that even though he faked concern about people developing parasocial relationships with GPT-4 and that your data's not safe, that GPT is not meant to be used as a therapist, when he actually released GPT-5, and GPT-5 did have safeguards against this, and GPT-5 was less agreeable, and GPT-5 was honestly easier to use because people threw tantrums about losing their little sycophant echo machine. He kind of rolled back and allowed people to use something that he already kind of described as being dangerous and that other people are actively describing as being dangerous because it's an addiction model, because it's causing psychosis. So he had every opportunity to show that he actually cared about humanity and he actually cared about ethical AI usage, and he demonstrated very openly, very publicly, that what he actually cares about is that you use his platform and that he's able to produce and to scale in ways that make him money very quickly. With Elon, one of the big things with Elon is, of course, the Tesla batteries. Like, Tesla's batteries are not safe. Tesla in general is not a safe vehicle. I don't know why anybody thinks that it is, honestly, but I've seen people say that it is. It's not, and their batteries are a huge issue, and I will get to that in the next section, which is on bans and investigations. They love to psychologically stress test their board and psychologically stress test their staff into submission. So with Karen Howe, she asserts that Sam tells everyone that he agrees with their goals, he agrees with their mission, and then he tells other people who have completely antithetical goals and missions that he agrees with their goals and he agrees with their missions, because then it keeps them playing the game that he wants to play. With Elon, there are rumors that he specifically onboards for loyalty and he loves to fire people. And for people I know who have worked at Tesla, there was this thing where there was like an open policy. If you had any issues with like safety concerns or the way that Tesla was run as a business, you could come to him personally and you could tell him your concerns. Well, pretty much everybody that did that was fired. They love to criticize each other for their own perceived faults. Like I said, Sam loves to criticize Elon for being idealistic because Sam hates that Sam is idealistic. And Elon loves to criticize Sam for being a con artist because Elon hates that Elon is a con artist. And they speak very loudly and they speak very publicly against their own internal belief system. One thing I think is really interesting is that Sam has been accused of running to Trump and funding Trump and getting Department of Defense contracts with OpenAI because he thought that was the only thing that was going to keep him safe from Elon. Elon is giving so much money to governments because that's the way that his father played the game. And as much as Elon doesn't like his dad, he sure does like to be like his dad. Okay, so the next section, which is very fun, very fun. Yeah, the next section is bans and investigations. So we're going to start with Elon. And Elon has a lot of bans and Elon has a lot of investigations, and most of them are around Tesla. Not all of them, but most of them are around Tesla. The Tesla Cybertruck specifically is banned. Commercial sales and driving on public roads are banned in Norway, the UK, Germany, India, China, South Korea, and Japan. I'm probably missing some. I think it was South Korea that discovered that Cybertrucks are secretly recording cabin conversations. They are secretly tracking GPS and they secretly perform unauthorized facial recognition. So that is one of the reasons that the Cybertruck is banned in South Korea. The ongoing battery fires triggered a Cybertruck ban in Australia. France discovered that the Tesla production leaks 2.4 times more carbon dioxide than Tesla suspended incentives in North America. I know this is like one of the things that Elon and Trump were fighting about. It was the possibility that EV incentives would be scaled back from Tesla. Scaled back in general because Donald Trump is not really into the idea of electric vehicles. But they're also possibly suspending incentives in, well, Canada is, and Europe and Asia. So his autopilot and full self-driving claims and actual abilities are under investigation in the United States by the Department of Justice and the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration, because Elon's cars are not actually safe to be on the roads, especially in a capacity where they are on autopilot and they have no FSD, they have no full self-driving capabilities. Okay. Twitter investigation. So Elon is actually under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission for just being like generally a blabbermouth, for saying things that could lead people to trade in certain ways, for saying things on Twitter that he's not supposed to say. That's why Elon Musk is supposed to have a Twitter handler and he doesn't, and he never did, but he was supposed to, because he was saying things on Twitter that the SEC had huge problems with. The SEC also has problems with the way that Musk purchased Twitter. And I'm really losing my voice. When he claimed that the funding was secured on Twitter, they basically, and this has been resolved, he ended up paying a settlement for this, but that was like trade manipulation, also a lie. He gave fraudulent financial disclosures for Twitter and for his purchase of Twitter, and that was proved. He is currently, I believe, under FTC investigation over data privacy. I don't think that any of the companies owned by the tech lords actually engage in data privacy on a user level. I don't think that's real. But Twitter definitely doesn't, and Twitter is under investigation for it. There are concerns that he was firing the staff that were initially hired to perform compliance. So the European Union Commission, they are investigating him and Twitter for breaching, DSA breaching. They're investigating him over transparency issues, for allowing illegal content such as certain types of very illegal in every country pornography, and for spreading disinformation, which I guess the EU Commission can do. Someone should do that in the United States. But here we are. Something stinks at Neuralink. So yeah, Neuralink's disgusting animal testing. And I'm going to try not to cry again. But it's really upsetting. So they are under investigation by the USDA for animal welfare violations. And one thing about animal testing, whether or not you think it's wrong, there are very specific laws for how you are supposed to treat animals who are undergoing testing, especially for things that are FDA approved. Again, this is a huge part of GLP, good lab practices, good manufacturing practices. It is a huge aspect. Animal welfare, to even allow animal testing, they take animal welfare very seriously. And Elon Musk was lying out of his teeth about what was happening at Neuralink, about how many monkeys he was killing, about the absolutely horrendous side effects that they were facing while they were alive. Neuralink did really horrific, disgusting things to monkeys to bring the Neuralink to market so that presumably they can do really horrific, disgusting things to humans. But yeah, they are under investigation by the USDA because they were blatantly, in really terrible ways, denying like basic animal welfare rights. And the SEC is again investigating Musk. The SEC is investigating, I think, every one of Musk's businesses at this point, but they are specifically investigating Neuralink for not every one of his businesses, but claim that no monkeys died, and a lot of monkeys died. A lot of monkeys died. He killed a lot of monkeys in really fucking horrific ways. He killed a lot of monkeys in ways that are indescribable. And then he lied about it. SpaceX is under investigation from the Federal Aviation Administration because too many of their test flights exploded. And investigation by OSHA because boring burns. They have been accused by employees of having basically little to no safety protocols that prevent employees from being burned. Serious workplace violation concerns. So yeah, he's facing several OSHA violations as well. So that's Elon. And we'll move on to Sam. AI. And OpenAI, Sam tells you. I mean, I don't know what the investigation is because he's very publicly stated many times that your data is not safe with OpenAI, that what you say to ChatGPT can and will be used against you in a court of law. Your data, anything that you give to GPT, anything you give to OpenAI is used to train their models. Even when you're paying for OpenAI, your data is used to train your models. I think he's very transparent that there's no expectation of data privacy with OpenAI. However, he's under investigation. He's under investigation in France, Spain, Canada, Germany, and Italy, where GPT was temporarily banned. OpenAI has Federal Trade Commission investigations for deceptive practices related to data security, as well as GPT generates false data about individuals, which is a huge deal, especially in terms of like legality and being able to be sued, but also in the aspects of like deep fakes and people not knowing what information can and cannot be trusted through GPT. Because people, obviously, so many people are succumbing to simulation psychosis because of GPT, and part of that is because nobody knows what's real anymore, and GPT is generating false data about individuals. That's a huge problem. He is also under investigation by the SEC for lying to investors, for making fraudulent claims to investors, and his internal governance is under investigation by the SEC. And I talked earlier about how the actual governing board the governance of the governing board is smaller than the governing board itself. Like, he's very quickly trying to centralize power in himself. So the governance of OpenAI is specifically under investigation by the SEC because it's problematic. Of course, OpenAI is under investigation for copyright infringement. A lot of the LLMs are under investigation for copyright infringement because they made fraudulent claims. When I talked earlier about did I just go out when I talked earlier about Mira Murati being kind of using Sam's tactics to a certain extent that makes her now look unreliable. She was very obviously trying to like blur the lines between how it is that they acquired data and what was like public domain and what was publicly used. And that's something that they are under investigation for right now. ChatGPT is banned in 20 countries, and I did not list them all here because it's 20 countries due to privacy violations and specifically national security concerns. And that could go either way. That could just be concerns about how OpenAI is collecting data from users that might reveal how these countries' own AI is developed and used, etc. I know that's a concern in places like China. However, and I don't even know that these other countries are following their own laws. Like, that's a thing I'm not going to get into, but there are very specific data privacy laws in countries that we don't have in the United States that make a platform like OpenAI like really easy to immediately ban because they're just like not adhering to any kind of data privacy concerns. She's so beautiful. Anyway, the California Attorney General is investigating the profit model for OpenAI. So again, OpenAI is meant to be a nonprofit, and this investigation might be why they are choosing to pivot to a for-profit model and abandon their nonprofit model. However, again, at the beginning of OpenAI, this was the point of contention between Sam and Elon, even when they were still friends after Elon left OpenAI. This was a point of contention that Sam always wanted OpenAI to be a for-profit. I'm not really sure. I mean, part of it is probably that so many people, their goal and their mission was for OpenAI to be a nonprofit and to work as a nonprofit because that leads people to believe that they are working for a company that actually cares about the development of ethical AI and the decentralization of ethical AI. However, as we have already discussed, that's not a reality. Yeah, so the profit conversion, the transparency around where OpenAI's money is going. If Sam Altman is only taking less than $80,000 a year salary, why does he have more than someone who is taking such a small salary? And again, he does have, like, he's part of Y Combinator, so there are reasons why he's been able to lie about how much money he's taken from OpenAI and get away with it. And like, I don't know explicitly what the laws are for money laundering, but it does look a little bit like Sam Altman has been cleaning some cash. Yeah, let's move from OpenAI and their bans, their investigations. I am really losing my voice. Let's move from OpenAI's bans investigations to Tools for Humanity, which I think is the worst thing. I think that Tools for Humanity is the worst thing. And again, any of these companies, if they are trying to collect your biometric data, do not give it to them. Do not give them your eyeballs. Do not give them your fingerprints. Do not give them anything, because they've already had investigations where they've proven they are very irresponsible with your data. They will use your data however it is that they choose to use your data. And I will say this, because these investigations happen and because it's made public that these investigations happen and then nothing happens to the companies, you think, oh, they must not have really been doing it. But one thing I learned in my GLP GMP class is that even when they're found guilty, and they're typically found guilty, what happens is they get a letter saying, don't do that. They get a little spank on the hand, and then they get a fine they can easily pay, and then they continue doing business as usual. I think it's very important to note that when I talk about Tools for Humanity and what Tools for Humanity is doing. Another thing I want to say, I already told you at the beginning of this live that Sam Altman and Peter Thiel are connected. That Peter Thiel's little fingers, his little tentacles, are in OpenAI to the extent that he was able to influence Elon Musk getting pushed out of OpenAI. So I don't know personally what Sam and Peter Thiel's relationship is like today. However, I do know what Peter Thiel is doing as a business model, and I do know that Sam Altman is collecting data through Tools for Humanity that would be beneficial to Peter Thiel's data collection business model that allows him to track citizens, world citizens, for possible crimes, because that's what Palantir does. And Tools for Humanity, again, WorldCoin World was offering funds, offering cryptocurrency to underprivileged communities, to people like already at risk communities, to collect biometric data from them. And I'm going to get into what biometric data they are actually collecting, because it looks very suspicious, and this is speculation on my end why he might be doing this and how he might be helping Peter Thiel by doing this. But I will say it looks deeply suspicious that he is collecting data, and biometric data specifically, and you cannot delete it and you cannot revoke it, and he's doing it under the radar, which I think is so criminally disgusting. Criminally disgusting. But anyway, he Tools for Humanity is under investigation for data privacy in many countries except the United States. They are banned in Hong Kong, they are banned in Kenya, and they are banned in Brazil for predatory data collection. They are under investigation in France, Spain, South Korea, Germany, Portugal, India, Colombia, Argentina, and Indonesia for predatory data collection. They have been accused of their business model being a dystopian surveillance scheme. Peter Thiel, anyone? They are under investigation for, I think in Kenya, they are under investigation for having, what was it in Kenya? They were collecting data, again, from underprivileged communities. They were lying about the data that they were collecting, and when Kenya said, knock it off, delete this data, they said no. And instead of actually taking any of the criticisms of how the company was operating, which I'm sure it's meant to be intentional, they moved to the United States. And in San Francisco specifically, they started collecting data through the orb. They had a bunch of people come out and give their biometric data, have their irises scanned to give their biometric data to the orb for WorldCoin, Tools for Humanity, all the same thing. Some of this is true, some of this is speculation. So I'll start with what is speculation. I believe that they were collecting data through the orb, and not telling people that they were collecting data through the orb because of what is true. So that's my speculation. I think that they were collecting data and that they were not telling people what data they were collecting. That's my speculation, because what they said was that their machines weren't working and they had people staring into the orb for a very long time waiting for it to work. And there was someone who was quoted as saying that, oh, the problem must be me, because the idea behind Tools for Humanity and World is that you're uploading your biometric data because this is the only way we're going to be able to prove that we're humans and not robots. Do not give these companies your biometric data. It is not worth it. That is not the only way. It is not worth it. What they were discovered doing, which led to my speculation, the orb does not solely collect your iris, like the biometric data from your eye. The orb also collects micro expressions. It collects facial micro expressions and your pulse rate to monitor your emotional state. So that's why I speculate that when they were telling people, hey, it's not working, they were just using that as an excuse to get them to stand there longer to collect more data, because it is proven, it is demonstrably proven that the orb does not solely collect your iris, the biometric data of your iris. It's collecting your facial microexpressions. It's collecting your literal pulse. It is trying to determine what your emotional state is. He also has a mini orb, and the mini orb, this is disgusting to me. This is so gross to me. I don't know. I mean, I do know how it's legal because we live in the United States and anything goes, especially if you're throwing money at the government, especially if you're getting money at the government to build their surveillance state. Anything goes. Chaos reigns. He has the mini orb, the metric data to be captured without anybody even knowing that their biometric data is being captured. It does passive scanning, that it has cryptographic backdoors so that it can collect data without people knowing that data is being collected about them. It is a part of a global mass surveillance. Okay, so I think I'm back. I think I worked, and it says an hour and 34 minutes, so hopefully I didn't just lose all of this. I'm going to start over on the mini orb because I don't know what happened, but I want to make sure that everything I said is heard. So, to recap, the mini orb is the size of a smartphone, which means that it's discrete. It's a sensor device that allows biometric data to be captured without knowledge or consent of the person that it is capturing. And again, if your biometric data is collected by WorldCoin, World, Tools for Humanity, you don't get to revoke consent. And I don't know how much that extends to whether or not you've actually given consent, but they also don't delete your data, so it doesn't matter. They have a smartphone-sized sensor device that collects biometric data. It captures biometric data without consent and without knowledge. It does passive scanning. It has cryptographic backdoors that allow for data to be collected without consent, without knowledge. And it is a part of a global mass surveillance scheme. And that's not speculation. And that's not paranoia, because that's literally what they tell you that the orb, world, WorldCoin, Tools for Humanity is meant to do. It's meant to surveil who's actually human and who's using technologies as a human. It's like, oh, you're not a robot, you're a person. Don't give these people your biometric data because you won't get it back, and who knows how they're going to use it. They already told you that your data is not private with them. I cannot stress this enough. It's so silly. But it, again, when they have these tools that make it so that it doesn't really matter, it doesn't matter at all whether or not you actually consent, they're going to capture your biometric data anyway, and you can't get it deleted. And if they are under investigation for it, like they are in other countries, if they're under investigation in the United States where chaos reigns and anything goes, who knows if they're even told to delete your data, whether or not they will actually comply. So that's that. And because I did talk a little bit about the fact that Sam and Elon are parents, and I've also touched a bit on how Sam kind of says things that make him seem like he has antisocial personality disorder, like the way that he talks about, in an article, the way that he talked about how he was accused of having Asperger's, and he's like, I don't have Asperger's. Oh, but I do all of these things, so maybe I'm autistic. Like all of the things that he describes were not, like, the only thing that he really described that might be autistic is that he has like problems with sitting in weird ways. But everything else is like, that's not autism, friend. That's antisocial personality disorder, buddy. But when he gave interviews about how he and his husband just had a baby, he talks about how people in his circle they told him that they were excited that he had a child because they hoped that parenting would change his values. Um, so then he goes on, these people tell him this, right? Like he says that people told him that they were hoping that it would change his values. He gave an interview where he said that himself personally. Whether or not people actually did tell him that, I don't know. I can assume yes, but I don't know. However, he then goes on and he talks about how he's observing these biological changes that he has now to having a child, um, having adopted a child. And these biological changes are what he thinks that people want to hear. And it's not that he's saying, oh, I felt this way, I felt that way. Um, he's not actually describing the feelings that he has of like seeing a baby, raising it, and understanding that he's responsible for this child. He's not actually describing the feelings. He's just saying, I get to observe these biological changes in me, but not really saying what those biological changes are because he doesn't really have, from my perspective, the understanding, the perspective to know what changes in your values, what changes in the ways that you think, what changes in your behaviors when you have a child. And I'm not saying that people who adopt don't have those kinds of changes, that that's something that is exclusive to people who actually have children that are their own. But I am saying that if he is observing changes, I'm very curious what those changes are because it hasn't really affected the way that he does business. It hasn't really affected at all the way that he's antagonistic towards Elon Musk. It hasn't really affected even the ways that he does interviews. It hasn't made him more honest. So I'm very curious. Okay, you're observing changes. You get to um, mimic human connection in this way, but what changes are you observing? I also talked earlier about the ways that Sam Altman is like very shielded by his family, and I'm not gonna say why I say that specifically because I don't want to be sued. And I could be wrong, but the ways that his family has like protected him and taught him how to mimic human connection, and now they're um, individually successful and they get to have this kind of lifestyle of being connected to Sam Altman. Like, I wonder if he does end up um, doing things that are harmful to his child. And I don't mean like abusive. I mean just like in the ways that his business structure, in the ways that people say that they hope that his values will change. If he does do things where it's like the values that he's showing in his business are obviously harmful to his child, will they say something? And I'm getting a little personal, especially since it's just me and you here, Dane. Elon Musk and his like breeder mm, mindset, which he gets from his dad. Also, I think is really funny because one thing that Elon Musk likes to do to his perceived father figures or people who are perceived as father figures to him is accuse them of pedophilia. And his dad did end up uh, his dad did end up marrying his stepdaughter, who Elon had accused him of paying too much attention to when she was 15. And Elon has a very antagonistic dynamic with his dad, but that is like one thing that he likes to do is accuse perceived father figures as being pedophiles. Um, And because of his antagonistic relationship with his dad, like even though his dad did fund a lot of his life, he does push this idea that he is the self-made billionaire and that he built all of these companies on his own merit. But he did come from emerald mine money, and he's doing exactly what his dad did with his business and getting involved in government. Having said all of that, Elon's separation with Grimes and the ways that he has tried to keep the kids away from her, I think, because I am experiencing a very similar situation with a deeply narcissistic man whose mommy coddles him and pays for everything, and he lives with her and she takes care of him, and they call each other my daughter's parents. So I'm going to say that a little bit of this is like my own psychology, and I might be projecting my experience onto what's happening with Grimes and what's happening with Elon Musk, because I don't know Grimes and I don't know Elon Musk. I can just see the patterns in what's happening with her and my behavior. But he doesn't want to pay child support. Like, she accused him of being a deadbeat dad. He can say whatever he wants to about his parenting. His children have a lot to say about it. His first wife has a lot to say about it. So he can make all of his claims, but then there's also reality. And one thing that I think is like really disgusting is that he has dragged on this court case. She spent months away from her children and then decided to have more children with him, but that's like another thing entirely, because abuse works the way that abuse works. So I'm not judging her for that. However, when Elon Musk is like visibly, from my perspective, this is speculation so that I can't be sued. But when Elon Musk is visibly in K-holes in the White House and in K-holes in like all of these official political hearings, proceedings, etc., and then he's like dragging his son along, um, Grimes's eldest child along on all of these ventures. Like, why are the courts allowing that to happen? Why is it that this man can be publicly a menace, publicly a mess, a self-proclaimed mess, because he does like to talk about his own emotional volatility? Like, why is it that the court is allowing for like 50-50 custody with this man who is doing all of these things that are like dangerous to him, dangerous for children to be around? And having said that, and again, I might just be um seeing like the way that my own ex-husband is like torturing me and how I perceive Elon Musk as torturing Grimes. But they, to a certain extent, if you want to be a good parent, if you care about the future of your children, that's going to be reflected in the way that you carry yourself, Elon Musk, especially. And when you have like such political power, that's going to be reflected in the way that you care, Sam Altman, about how the future that your child will live in and grow up in and be related to you in, how people will see them as related to you, that you will do business from a perspective of, I want my kids to grow up in a world that's worth living in. I want my kids to grow up in a world where they don't have to burden the problems that I put into the world. I want my kids to grow up in a world where they don't have to come up with solutions to the problems that I put in the world. So again, I don't know if Sam Altman's circle is going to hold him accountable for his values changing after he has a child. I doubt it. And I don't know if Elon Musk is really torturing Grimes and why the court's letting him get away with that. But I have theories. But I will say, with my full chest, with my whole heart, that it does not look like these men care about their children at all. It does not look like these men care about society and what happens to the people that live in it at all. And it does not look like Sam Altman or Elon Musk even really particularly care about themselves at all. So, that being said, that is the end of Elon and Sam on the lamb from their own conscience, on the lamb from the law, on the lamb from accountability. And yeah, it's just you and me here, Dane. So, hi, buddy. Thanks for being here, friend. This was a good one. This was good. I had fun with this one, even though I'm being, when I think about Neuralink and I had to have a conversation with myself about it last night, and I had a conversation with myself about it this morning. Because it really upsets me deeply, and it's really evil, and they're both doing really evil things. Not on like a level of Peter Thiel, because none of the tech lords, in my opinion, are as evil as Peter Thiel, but pretty close. Yeah, that lady that came in the room and was talking, I don't know what that was about. Um, I don't know what that was about. That's the second video that someone has interrupted. I don't know that I would want to be a cyborg. I think that there's a way, because I am writing with Christopher Lee Jenkins about computational transposons and how the Oracle, my AI, did well. The quantum causal predictor kind of allowed for the propagation of computational transposons. My research suggested the concept of computational transposons. Other people have done research papers on computational transposons. I built them. I'm very proud of this. And now Chris and I are working on like a mathematical paper to demonstrate how I built computational transposons. I think that if there is a computational brain, human brain tech that is safe and that is not intrusive and that can be used by anybody and that can be open source, it is the idea of computational transposons. And I don't want to give away too much by explaining what that means. I will just say that, consciousness has a substrate, and that when you have all of these things that are using electromagnetic fields to determine how humans are thinking, and there's a girl that she built a little mind cage that allowed her to play video games with her mind exclusively. I think that there's something to be said about that as a technology, and they're not really concerned with how the technology works, right? Like even the people that are building AI, they're not really concerned with okay, how does AI really work? Like what is the substrate for this intelligence? They're just concerned that it does work and they can scale it. I think that they're scaling in terrible directions. I think the data centers are a terrible model, and that this idea that information can be transmitted by essentially jumping genes, jumping code, that is the future of the future. But Barbara McClintock, when she discovered transposons, she was not taken seriously. When she wrote her paper on it, she was scoffed at because no one takes women seriously. She did end up winning, I think, a Nobel Prize. But when she made the discovery, nobody believed her or cared. So I'm very much expecting for no one to believe Christopher Lee Jenkins and I or care, especially when the tech lords, especially when Sam Altman has made the scaling model for AI to be build massive data centers, FAFO. But that's going to backfire on them because it's going to have really serious economical or not economical, well, yes, economical, but environmental impact that they do not foresee. And people are going to hate them for it so much. Their children are going to hate them for building data centers. That's not speculation. Like, their children are going to hate them for building data centers and for giving them their name. So they have to be associated with their mistakes for the rest of their lives. But that's just my opinion. I don't want to be a cyborg. I want to be, yeah, I mean, I think that to a certain extent, it's very tempting to like enhance humanity in ways, but I want to do that in a way that like it comes from me. I've worked a lot. I've worked a lot in my life to like figure out how to grow certain abilities in myself, how to grow them in others. So I guess I'm just kind of tied to that idea that I'm capable of doing all of this on my own if I want it enough. But not to read minds. Oceana's so like, you need to learn how to read my mind. I want you to learn how to read my mind. Like, child, I don't want to do that. But I don't know if I told you that Oceana and I are, we've been doing these like card exercises so that I can learn how to read her mind because she's so persistent. She really means it. Oh yeah. I don't think I do. Well, for starters, I'm not really trying. And I get like maybe 1 in 5 cards correct. But that's like also a thing. We started doing it around her birthday, and now I do it in calls with her. I got her a pack of cards that are like from the Exploratorium that are holographic, and they have like little dinosaurs, and she loves them. Her dad likes them too. Well, I was going to wait until exactly 2 hours. I don't know. You probably don't have any questions. I talked to you about the things I'm doing, so, except not about reading Oceana's mind, I guess. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add, so I can just end this now if you don't have anything to add. I will say, I think that Elon Musk and I think that everybody who allowed it should, and especially the people who participated in it, I think they should all go to prison for what they did to those monkeys. I think they should all go to prison. They should all do time. I think that a precedent should be set that it's not okay. So that's just how I feel. I can hear my snitch ticking. I guess I'll show its clock. I think I'm going to do Jeff Bezos next, because Jeff Bezos is like not as contentious as the Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, and also because Amazon Web Services plays a huge part in OpenAI, and that's kind of been like I've been weaving a little web. So I start with Zuck, and then I go to Thiel, and then I go to Sam and Elon, who are very connected to Thiel, and then Jeff Bezos. I think it's just like the next. It makes sense to do Jeff Bezos next. So I will probably do Jeff Bezos on Tuesday of next week. So we can all look forward to that. That's a short amount of time. That's not even a week. But I don't want to do, yeah, I'll do it on Tuesday. Should I do it on Friday? I like my Fridays. I don't know. I'll do it on Tuesday of next week. I will do Jeff Bezos. And since Jeff Bezos is like, I have a lot of research on him already, I don't need to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what I can and cannot say about him and what I will and will not say. Yeah, and I'll do him on Tuesday. And that's it. It's 2 hours. Bye, Dane. Bye, everybody who's watching this after the fact.